it's completely obvious now that no matter what the organization ever says, that when we fired this guy, he's been given full personnel control. Even when they said that about Shanahan had to fight. Bruce was window dressing. When I talk, or Scott was window dressing. Bruce had all the power, still has all the power. They're not going to bring in anybody that's currently in the league with any juice at all. It's going to have to be a retread, an ex-guy, a guy on the outside looking in, like a McCloughan. And even then, it's all going to be window dressing there, too, because it's still going to be Bruce and Dan pulling the string, and that's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's Jim Zorn disease. I mean, even go way, way back when Snyder first hired Marty Schottenheimer, who was obviously an accomplished guy, and said, I'll stay out of the way. And after one season, he said, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
And his ego won't allow him to do it. He's like the little kid who wants to have his cake and eat it too. He wants the team to be good. I mean, that's been the defense many people have of him. Well, he really just wants to win. Well, it's not that he just wants to win. He wants to win and get the credit.
Yeah.
It's not good enough for him to win. And that's why, I don't think McCloughan, I think when they brought McCloughan in, initially they let him make the personnel decisions. They realized after the 4-12 and the whole debacle with Shanahan and with Robert Griffin and the way everything went down there, okay, we got to have somebody who knows something about football, because you're right about Bruce. Bruce is window dressing. He's an alumni director. That's all he is. And so they bring in McCloughan and say, okay, Scott, you take over here. You make the decisions in the draft and free agency. And McCloughan did a pretty good job with it. Not a perfect job, but a pretty good job. And people, in Scott we trust, whatever, they couldn't take it. They couldn't handle it. We're playing better. We're 9-7. We win a division. We're 8-7-1. We coulda, woulda, shoulda won a division, or been a wild card. And they couldn't take it. And the other thing, guys, is, I mean, I guess maybe because of what I do, I'm incredibly offended by the fact that these guys flat out have lied the last few weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Flat out lied.
Right.
And even their little statement yesterday, Scott's been released. This is all we're going to say about it. Well, you got a little bit of public trust here. You're asking people to pay all this money for tickets and buying gear and everything, and you're not going to explain to the public why you just fired your general manager after 2 years, and you're acting like it's some kind of national security issue. They owe the public an explanation of exactly what happened, not this garbage about, he wasn't at the combine because of his 100-year-old grandmother dying. I mean, that's the biggest lie since Nixon said, I'm not a crook.
Yeah, and this is what I don't understand, John. You just mentioned about the credit. If Scott does well and they win because Scott's making great personnel decisions or, drafts great players, they get the credit too, because it makes Bruce and Dan look good that they hired someone that did a good job. Mm-hmm. They can't understand that. They can't understand it.
It's a great point.
And like, if they were ever to win the Super Bowl, who's going to hand the trophy to?
Right.
He's going to hand it to Dan.
Well, that's never going to happen.
And not likely, is it? I still remember Jack Kent Cooke when the last time they won, saying, this is a tribute to the greatest fans in the whole world. Everybody in town was in love with the guy. Snyder could have that, regardless of who gets the credit for making the right decisions. He'd be the owner. He'd be the guy who finally figured out, I got to stay out of the way. I don't know a damn thing about football. But like you said, Jason, he doesn't get that. Mm-hmm. I mean, he wants to take all the bows. And we've all dealt with a lot of big egos in sports, but this one is just on another level. It really is.
John, I brought this up yesterday. If I were Dan Snyder today or the last 17, 18 years, however long he's on the team, I would be embarrassed to walk out in public. I think that's part of the reason you just don't see a lot of Dan Snyder. I think he's embarrassed by what this franchise has turned into. This used to be an iconic heritage franchise in the NFL, and it's now a laughingstock. And people point at Dan Snyder and say he's the reason for the downfall. I'd be embarrassed to be Dan Snyder in 2017. I wouldn't want to show my face either.
But I don't think I think that, he's had a new public relations strategy the last 3 or 4 years. Don't go out in public as much. Only when you do show up, make sure you're giving somebody some money so that the focus is on that, not on how bad the team is or how mediocre the team is. But it hasn't worked because people know the truth. The one thing I disagree with you on is I think this is the problem. He's not embarrassed. I guarantee you, if he ever said, remember when he did that 2-part interview or something with Chick Hernandez 2 summers ago?
Yes.
And it was part of their deal with Comcast. And I actually watched it, and I think Chick's a pretty good interviewer. And it was everybody else's fault. The media hadn't been fair to him, and this guy made this mistake, and that guy made it reminded me a little bit of Bob Knight. Every game his team ever lost, it was because the players didn't do what they were told, or the officials were bad, or something. He never lost a game, and Dan Snyder's never lost a game.